Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. I would like to bring to order the regional council meeting for September 3rd, 2024. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in the traditional territories of the Dene, Cree, and Danizaa people of the Fort Nelson First Nation, as well as the Prophet River First Nation. We further recognize our common treaty and those rights that are contained within that treaty. And finally, to celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available to the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Are there any additions to tonight's meeting, Council?
Yep, can I add an addition on the food cycler program?
Okay, let's put that at 7.6 food cycler. And I think there was one other addition as well. Right. 7.7 backcountry consultation. Yeah, so I'll push that down to the end, 7.8, unless there's anything else. Backcountry consultation, and that's staff submission. Okay, was there anything else, Council, staff, anything else? Okay. Adoption of the agenda is in order, please. Moved by Councilor Gerwing, second by Councilor Enoch. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There are two sets of minutes, committee of the whole meeting August 12th and the regional council meeting August the 12th for adoption. When you move for adoption, I'll move to Councilor Roper. Councilor Sol, second. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Adopted. Business arising from those minutes. 6.1 is a letter from Mr. Johnson, the owner of Pet Paws Food and Accessories. If you recall, there was a discussion at the meeting of the 12th with respect to potential remuneration for costs for that he incurred during the evacuation for looking after people's pets. So that we received another letter. Has staff got any comments on that letter?
So in response to council's inquiries from the previous meeting, we reached out to Mr. Johnson, and this was the information that he provided sort of in response to the questions that were raised with the initial question regarding reimbursing him for his expenses to help feed pets during the evacuation.
Okay, thank you. It's surprising to me that the pet owners themselves didn't pony up more than $1,100 in donations to him. You know, I can understand why he might not want to bill those people. It sort of looks self-serving that you go ahead and you do it and then you bill them after the fact. It looks bad. I get it. I don't want to see him out of pocket, right, for something that he did out of the goodness of his heart. But it again, it flabbergasts me that the pet owners themselves never stepped up and you know, reimbursed them. You know, the 48 homes I think is in that letter that they couldn't come up with, you know, the $4,500 or whatever it was that he was out of pocket on. So those are my comments. I'm just wondering if anybody else has any comments with respect to what we might do.
I'll say it again, that when people left their pets behind, the pets still belong to them. And I think that they should be held responsible for feeding their pets. I don't know how the linkage is, but I don't think that this is our business to go and bail out in that case.
Any other comments?
My husband stayed home the entire time looking after her horses and goats and stuff all through our neighborhood, as well as, you know, holding down the fort. I know Ken did spend a lot of money and ran out of quite a bit of stuff. We had the residents in Port St. John bringing kitty litter and stuff to our hotel, and we sent it up with Secure Energy. Bruce brought it all up to him. So, yeah. I hate to see him be out of pocket. Too, if there's something we could do, I think we should do it.
Councilor Roper, please.
Yeah, I think, the associated costs here are pretty minimal, and it doesn't include Mr. Johnson's time, which I'm sure is very valuable. I don't believe we have a policy framework to activate to actually entertain this request, but I would like to see something done, being as it was an extenuating circumstance with the evacuation, and Mr. Johnson just did this out of the goodness of his heart. I don't think he expected reimbursement from the families, but he is out. So I would be in favor of doing something for him.
Yeah, it potentially sets precedent, right? But I suspect that our emergency plan in the future will include something to deal with this. I mean, it was a tactical evacuation that turned into a bigger evacuation, right? And it was fast, and I can see people not having the ability to.
Yeah.
Not everybody keeps their cats close to them, right? And many people thought that this would be because they never experienced this kind of thing, and they thought they'd be out of the community for a day or two and they'd be back. I understand Councillor Slowe's point that people are responsible for their pets, and I still have said that I think the homeowners should have voluntarily helped him out. I mean, they know that their pets got fed by him, and they should have ponied up and helped him out. But I don't want to see him out of pocket, and for the amount that it is, I would suggest that we resolve to pay him, and we'll use the mayor's discretionary fund to pay this bill, and direction to staff that our future evacuation plans include a more robust ability, I guess, to deal with pets. I mean, and hopefully it's not going to ever happen again, but we need to go ahead.
I have been in discussions with EMBC staff with regards to what the province would support for a pet reunification. So if we had a situation like this happen, what would be an eligible expense? Could we bring like the SPCA into town, gather up pets, reunify them with their owners? And what level of support would the province for EOC activities to help either control the pets or feed the pets or to take care of that? So I haven't gotten an answer back yet, because typically pet reunification and pet care in communities evacuated are taken care of by other agencies like by the SPCA. Given our remote location and our distance from other communities, we don't have that option, and we can't just bring in those services and those community groups who help support pets that are left behind, because it does happen quite often. Like you say, people evacuate quickly, and not everyone has the ability to take a chicken with them or their cat they can't find. So, but our location just complicates that, given that we're 4 hours from the nearest SPCA. So we are in conversations with EMBC to see what we can do from a policy perspective at the provincial level.
Thank you. So I'd like to think that this is a one-time thing, and that the mayor's discretionary fund can cover it. So if somebody would move that, Councillor Going, you got something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that he's not asking for he's not making money off this. He's just looking to recoup his costs. So if we're willing to do the mayor's discretionary fund, and we can approve it without precedence, just because we do it once, we'll just say without precedence, and hopefully it's a one-time thing, and so I would make that motion.
Okay.
I
Do I have a seconder?
I would second that.
Councillor Roper. Is there any further discussion? Staff is okay with that resolution? It's legal? That fund can be used for that?
The fund can be used for it, yeah. So just to confirm, that the amount of $3,400 and, oh no. it's
64.30.
Very small,
Yeah.
very small, $64, be reimbursed out of the mayor's discretionary fund without precedence. Is that correct?
That is the resolution. All in favor? Opposed? Would you like your name recorded? Okay, thank you. That brings us to the next order of business, which is the 6.2 Northern Rockers RCMP crime statistics, January to June 2024. Staff, would you like to speak to this, please? Maybe speak to how it came in
Thank you, Mayor.
and the difference to the way this normally comes to us.
Yeah, so this was, this document, I'll just, as Scott and I were reviewing it this morning, we realized, just so that people who are reviewing this is comparing January to June of 2023 to January to June of 2024. Because it does make a difference when you're looking at those statistics. So this was dropped off by a member of the RCMP who is assigned to help look after us. She is from the Tumble Ridge area. And this was in response to our requesting our crime stats from, can't remember, Brian Edmonds? Yeah, from Brian Edmonds, who is a senior officer within the E Division. So this was dropped off and we sort of reviewed it quickly, and we've just been providing it to council at this time. So it does not give us that full year picture for 2023, and it's sort of not in that same format that we were used to, which had those very comparable numbers from one section to another. But we did clarify a couple things, particularly around the arsons, as those numbers were quite a bit lower than what had been reported from the fire chief. And it was relayed to us that the RCMP don't record arsons in the same fashion that the fire department does. So if the RCMP does not record wildfires, dumpster fires, or bush fires or grass fires, and if there were 2 ignitions in the same area, the RCMP would only count that as 1 file, whereas the fire department would count that as 2.
Okay, I'm disappointed on many different levels with these statistics. First, in the way they were given to us. I mean, and in the past, I've been used to detachment commanders, senior NCOs, delivering them in person so that you can have a discussion about what's happening from year to year. You can have a discussion about priorities. You can have a discussion about questions or concerns you have about policing and crime in the communities. And to me, it's one more example of how we are being underserved in our community because there is no senior NCO currently on staff here. It's something that we'll address with the Solicitor General. We have a meeting with him at UBCM as well as staff. For most people's edification that might not realize it, this is election year and those UBCM meetings are, you just don't know if the ministers are going to be there, but staff are going to be there. And so we've focused our efforts on trying to get staff meetings this year. And so we'll also be meeting with, remind me of the organization's name, please, that looks after policing and oversight.
Public
Yeah,
safety and
public
solicitor
safety and
general.
solicitor
Yeah.
general. So that's who looks after it. So we'll be bringing this and other issues up to them. It shows that it's not increasing, but it's not decreasing either. And that's what you would hope to see is over time, you'd see a steady decrease in crime statistics, if not a complete erasure of them. But so I'm disappointed with it. I think leadership at the local level is an issue for us, but because it's not here, but leadership at the next level up at E Division and ensuring that we're not getting the service that we need is an issue, and that's certainly what we'll bring up with the Solicitor General. So those are my comments. There is a watch commander, but he's a junior NCO, and doesn't have the same experience as a senior NCO would have. And so I suspect the fact that he's not here delivering them in person is part of that inexperience and training or the confidence in speaking in public. So that's my guess. That's why these were just dropped off. But to have an senior NCO looking after us from another community 500 kilometers to the south is just not acceptable to me. Does anybody else have any comments on the RCMP statistics? Maybe I ranted enough for everybody. Thank you. All right. Yeah, it's getting more and more frustrating for sure. Okay, that brings us to 7.1 on the agenda, which is the community immigration concerns, the rural community immigration pilot. There is a staff report there. Do we have staff to speak? Mitch, thank you.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So the report before you is for information just in regards to some of the concerns that the community has sent over to us just in regards to immigration issues. There are two predominant issues that we've kind of identified right at the moment, which are the temporary foreign worker permits, which include the residency points needed, and the second, which is the rural immigration program. So just as an update in terms of what we've done so far, so we have applied to the rural immigration program. And as of right now, there is no answer, and we are told that we are expecting one within the fall. So pretty vague. But other responses we've done in terms of the community reaching out, we've responded personally to all the emails that have come in. Ourselves in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce have collected names, stories, that kind of thing. Just relevant information of those who are affected by this. Connected with an immigration officer, Northern Lights College, Community Futures, as well as local chamber to better understand the application and kind of what that entails for our community. And then the final thing we've done is we've actually established a working group. We're looking at getting that together here in the next month for essentially all those in that application. So that's the Peace River Regional District. That would be Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, Chetwynd, ourselves. I feel like I'm missing one, but a working group just so we can be a little bit more proactive about these issues and have a bigger voice when it comes to this issue.
I would imagine, regionally, there's hundreds of people that this applies to as far as applicants go. Never mind all of their families as well. It's 80 here, right, who have actually made submissions or letters of support to us.
Yeah, so there's a significant amount. It's estimated between 100 and 150 that are affected. Now, in terms of how many have reached out to us, that number is in the report here.
Yeah, it was 80, I think it said.
It's about 80, yeah. So quite a significant amount have reached out, but yeah, it's anywhere between about 100 to 150 people in that temporary foreign worker permit.
Yeah, which is a huge big part of our community when you consider all of their families, kids in school, and the employers who are employing them and using them for. So I did have a question about your meeting with the officer, and there were some cases that were pending really soon. So are you working with the officer to sort of sort out the really short-term issues for
So-
people?
Yes, so that's the idea, is that we're going to be working with her closely. She's on vacation here until next week, I think. But we are meeting with her just in regards to those, to take care of those kind of immediate issues and make sure we're connecting the people who need to be connected.
So hopefully we'll be able to get the point across to the feds that the pilot program that the folks in Dawson Creek are trying to put together will be is needed in this region. So hopefully that will move forward. Any other questions or comments, Councilor Gerwing?
Yeah, I don't know if you have been in touch with the Fort Nelson Community Literacy Society. They have a contract providing immigration services. So I don't know how it can factor in, but we provide a lot of services to immigrants into this community and we have lots of stories. And so I'm seeing Bev nodding. So somehow they're already in the loop. I just didn't see them in the report. Okay, thank you.
I know that there's also there's an in-camera portion to this discussion item as well, but has Community Futures, are they asking us to do anything more at this time?
Not
To
at this
assist them?
time.
So we already sent them a letter basically saying that we support this program, and that's all they've asked for so far. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Anybody else? Okay, thank Mitch, and thanks to you and anybody else who responded to all of those people, because
Yeah.
I got a copy of every one of them on my email, so
There's a couple of them.
yeah, yeah, so I know how many there were, so thanks for responding to those folks.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, we report 7.2 on the agenda, Administration Report 41/24 is Provincial Agricultural Land Commission application non-farm for 7100 Alaska Highway. I think this is the first time this is coming to us. Hi, Rada. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this report is associated with the non-farm use application that we received through the Agricultural Land Commission portal. Typically, what happens is when an applicant puts an application, it is when they put an application to the ALC portal, it is directed to the municipality for the review from the municipality to ensure that the proposed development is in compliance with the municipal bylaws. So after reviewing this application, it has been determined that the proposed dugout, which is intended to serve a water hole, is in compliance with the official community plan of the Northern Rocky Region Municipality as well as the zoning bylaw.
Okay, and the recommendation is to approve this, to say that it's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
to say-
Are there any questions? Mr. Anacari, anybody?
I would just say that it's should be painfully obvious to us all how, after a number of years of drought and the water table is continuing to go down, that actually water storage matters. It really is a good idea to have some water storage, and it's a pretty harmless thing when it's full and the ducks swim on it and, you have a water source. And I'm in favor of supporting this.
Anybody else? Comments? The recommendation there, would somebody like to make it? Councilor Rowe?
I'll make the recommendation that we provide the resolution from Northern Rockies Regional Municipality confirming that the municipality has reviewed the residents' application for non-farm use submitted to the LC. Is that the resolution we're looking for?
Do I have a seconder? Councilor Enoch? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, yeah, don't go away. 7.3 is Administration Report 42/24, which is Development Variance Permit Application to vary the provisions of the sign bylaw. Yami-Sushi.
Right, so this report pertains to the development variance permit application that was submitted by the owner of the business Yami-Sushi Japanese restaurant, requesting a variance to the section of the sign bylaw to allow the greater height and area of the proposed 3 fascia signs. The details of those differences has been provided in the report, which is not a bigger concern. Where they are planning to put these signs are in between the canopy of the roof and the doors and windows. So not a major concern, but either way, according to the legislative requirement, the public notification has been already sent to the property owners who are supposed to be affected by this. So surrounding affected property owners, and the mail out was provided on August 23rd of 2024. So far, we haven't received any comments or concerns from anybody. Yeah. That's all.
Question, Council Goring?
So I'm just a little confused about this, our sign bylaw, because when McDonald's came into, we gave them a variance on signs, and now here we are again asking for a variance. So is it something in our sign bylaw that needs to be addressed? Because if it's not meeting the needs of the business community, then instead of coming back for variances all the time, do we need to change that bylaw or stick to our bylaw? Like, I don't know if you have an answer to that, but it seems to me one or the other. Like if the bylaw was written with these, then an occasional variance for a specific reason might be appropriate, but now this is the second time, and yeah, so is it too restrictive or, yeah?
Yeah, based on the concerns we are receiving from the community, it does look like it's quite restrictive at this point. However, on the other hand, if our community was booming at this time, and if there were several businesses at one locations, then maybe it would have been good to have restrictive bylaw, because that way we could have prevented many signs. Yeah, so it's kind of tricky, but it does feel like at this point, we could potentially look into it to see if we can accommodate any.
I would agree with that. You know, I think McDonald's is the rule rather than the exception anymore. If you look at McDonald's or A&W or, you know, any of those retail outlets with respect to the size of their signs, how many signs they have on their property that are menu boards, how many signs on their property that are lit. All of those are, you know, are pretty common nowadays, and our sign bylaw doesn't recognize that. I think so. I think a review of the sign bylaw is probably in order, just based on what you see in other communities, I guess, and the numbers of signs that we see, and then the requirement for them to advertise their product, you know, as part of what they did. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because the company coming in is looking at the bylaw and is planning their signage appropriately, right? So we're making decisions based on this bylaw, companies making decisions based on this bylaw, but then, you know, one company will ask for a variance and they get the variance, and the other company is going, well, I didn't think to do that. So then they're, you know, following the bylaw thinking like, well, why are your signs bigger than my signs? And you know how that all goes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's never good. So yeah, I would like to perhaps see a review of this bylaw if in fact council is going to decide to approve this variance.
Does anybody, would you like to speak to, you know, bylaw reviews and where this might fit in the queue? Or maybe it's somebody from the planning department that manages this kind of thing?
It's noted, so we can chat about it tomorrow.
All right.
I think just based on Rado's comments and the fact that that bylaw is quite dated, it's just a matter now where it does fit the queue and what's required. So
Yeah.
that's something we'll take a look at and discuss as a group, and we can just bring it back to council. But you're right. I mean, if we need to continually do variances, it's either, but it's not an exception to the rule, now becomes a rule.
Yeah.
Essentially. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something that we'll discuss. with
Yeah.
you.
Counselor
I
Dickey?
have one comment on the bylaw, because if the bylaw says you can only have a sign that's 21.5 inches, that's pretty small.
Yeah.
For a business, right?
Yeah.
So no wonder there's a variance. So I agree with the bylaws from 26.
I forgot to turn my own.
From 2016, it obviously needs a review.
I'm sorry, Counselor Dickey, for interrupting you there. So, yeah, okay.
Okay. So then if a business is coming into the community and they're checking our bylaws, is there a possibility of putting under review? So a business coming in would then know that they're not necessarily mandated by this bylaw because it is under review. Like, do we have that available somewhere?
There is another opportunity as well. If it belongs within the development permit area, then if there are variants in the signs that they are requesting, then it can be also achieved through the development permit. So.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Okay, back to what we were here for, and that's the and that it's good that we have that discussion because it you know, it's obvious that that sign bylaw is old and probably needs to be updated. So Yami Sushi is looking for the ability to put up these 3 signs on the front of his building. What are your wishes? There's a recommendation there.
I would move the recommendation that the development variance permit application DVP -2401 associated with Yami Sushi Japanese restaurant located at 4903 51st Ave West, legally described as Lot 2, District Lot 1578, Peace River Plan PGP 19313 is approved to permit 3 fascia signs that exceed area and height contrary to the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Sign Bylaw number 73, 2012.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Counselor Dickey? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 7.4, Administration Report 4324, Arboreal Caribou Proposed Wildlife Habitat Area Legal Orders. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council again. This report just provides information about the ongoing implementation of the Boreal Caribou Protection and Recovery Plan. So the province has indicated they're at the stage where they're proposing wildlife habitat areas for type 1 and type 2 forestry management areas. There is a draft order and a map showing those areas attached for reference as attachment 1 and 2. So essentially the province is seeking input. The consultation period ends on September the 11th. There's some information in the report regarding some clarification that was sought from the province on their intentions for collecting information specifically from the Northern Rockies. So it's essentially the province confirmed that it's a letter, it's a notification to the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality that these orders have been put out to the public for consultation. They're seeking feedback specific to values that may be impacted by those spatial polygons. And just basically, you know, they're not looking at the same level of engagement or consultation that occurred during the drafting of the plan itself. There's some information as well in the report around the proposed wildlife habitat areas and the legal framework associated with those. And then the next steps. So essentially, again, the province is seeking feedback until September the 11th. There's been specific groups targeted for feedback. So trapline holders, tenure holders. I did reach out to the community forest and they confirmed that, well, the general manager confirmed that they had no record of being consulted by the province. However, there doesn't appear to be an overlap with the community forest, although there's numerous polygons that are directly adjacent to the community forest. So council may wish to consider providing some feedback, particularly around the fact that the inventory information is outdated. And we've had this conversation before at this table around impacts of wildfire and the unknown effects these restrictions would actually have, given that the landscape's been severely damaged over the last 2 years. Turn it over to you.
Thank you for that, Lisa. Questions or comments for Lisa or on this topic? Counselor Stolz?
This looks like another downloading of an idea that no one's looking, or they're not, that the downloaders are not looking at the cumulative effects of loss. There's a huge forest area inside of lots of these polygons. The huge forest area that with this type of application comes the ambiguity for groups like Peak Renewables and others who talk about establishing an industry in the area, and yet when you have a moving target like this in the background that is not based on numbers of caribou or numbers of or success of measures taken to recover caribou, and that it's like there's a whole lot of landscape that's just being targeted for a soft removal, what we call a soft removal at first, from being part of the picture, part of the forestry picture. Having said that, I see that in our recent history that it's kind of irrelevant that it takes forest out of the wood basket of the area when there is so little of it being used, and it hasn't been in demand. But as with all land use decisions that are made, including the federal species at risk that is a driver behind this, it does not, it has as its one of its background frames of reference is the 30 by 30 decision. So this is another one of the layers of that. I believe it's a one of the layers of that. I still will repeat over and over that in every other jurisdiction in the world, everyone, including other parts of Canada, caribou survival is primarily accomplished through domesticating caribou and farming caribou. And there's caribou farms all over the world, including in Russia and Ukraine and Poland and then Scandinavian countries and Denmark and Sweden. I mean, Denmark and Iceland and you name it, there are caribou farms. And somehow we've got this application of land restriction for industry and so on and no appetite whatsoever for farming of caribou as a survival strategy. And I think that's wrongheaded, and I think it's not scientifically based. And I think that it's actually, so with that in mind, how are we supposed to look at this apart from it's really the application of a different agenda, and the caribou survival is being used as the mechanism for doing it.
Anybody else? Councilor Green.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fly by the seat of my pants here because I didn't get to read the whole report yet. But just having put that out there, just drawing council's attention to the fact that on page 33 of our package, once the WHAs are approved, the construction of new roads or access structures, harvesting, and the establishment of new range developments will not be permitted. So this council, the past council, and the previous council has been dealing with the caribou issue for that many years. And I think my view on it is that we must respond. We don't know what the future is going to bring, but if we are going to take huge tracts of land and set aside for absolute no access, I just think that that is short-sighted. So I would very much like to have a response back to the province, and I would very much like to continue fighting this as long as we can.
Everybody else? Councilor Dickey.
My comment on that is when you look at the two different types of management processes that they're going to put in place of no new harvesting, no new roads, no service development, is not really that much when you're looking at this big map. It's probably 50% of the Muskoka-Chika or the northern region, but the conditions start happening when that conservation protected area that's outside the Muskoka-Chika. So now we're starting to talk like the broadness of the policy once it's in place. And I don't think that, you know, it's not that no development can happen as long as it's done in a sustainable way and everybody on board. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some debate with. If you read this in a lot of detail, there's 4 different management zones, right? And pretty restrictive from a forestry perspective. There is some variability with respect to oil and gas. But it really doesn't give, you know, a lot of detail with respect to what can and can't happen. I'd like to take a step back further, and I understand all of the concerns about, you know, the original data being faulty that this plan was developed from in the first place. But it does come from a plan that's been put together by our neighbor, our First Nation neighbor, that that they want to see happen with respect to the protection of caribou. But I wonder if they're in the same place today as they may have been 3, 4, 5 years ago with respect to what's actually been happening on the landscape, right? So it seems to me these are awful restrictive regulations using faulty data in the first place, though they'll say that it's not faulty data, and from our perspective it is. But the change to the landscape has been so dramatic in the last 2 years. And, you know, I think if you overlaid the wildfire map on this map, you would see that a lot of this habitat has been destroyed or severely compromised. And the numbers of caribou, nobody knows what the fires have done to that because we haven't done any inventory of the numbers of caribou after these, you know, these 2 wildfire seasons. And so it seems to me that we should be able to ask them to put this on pause until the decision to actually enact these regulations, until such a time as they get that information. You can look at the annual allowable cut and how much it's been impacted, but really from this perspective, it's going to be about caribou habitat. What's there, what's been damaged, comparable. And so will these regulations and this plan actually have an impact on the caribou moving forward? You know, surely there's, you know, some science that will tell us whether these fires were good for the habitat or not good for the habitat, at least in the short term. And surely they can put this on pause until that scientific information can be arranged or we can find out what it is. I think though that we're not going to have any impact on this unless our neighbors are with us. It's their caribou plan that the province has worked together with, and they've done a lot of work on that caribou plan, and you know, we were involved in moving that process along. I don't think we ultimately were part of the approval process for it, but there it is, and these are regulations to help that plan come to fruition. So I really wonder if our neighbor at Fort Nelson First Nation is in the same place as they were, and I don't think we go forward from the provincial perspective unless we've got the nation working with us on this. They won't, you know, they'll just ignore us. So I think we need to prepare something. The 11th is not a lot of time. It's, you know, a week from now, and we need to find out if Fort Nelson First Nation will support our ask to have this suspended until we get, you know, the inventories that we need. Because they'll want to know, it's information they'll want to know themselves with respect to moving forward. And not only that, if you look at the potential salvage opportunities in the fire, it's a short window. And the way permitting goes, it won't be anybody else but the Fort Nelson First Nation who does the harvesting of that salvage wood. So these regulations, if they're enacted right away, will impact their ability themselves to harvest that wood that potentially is salvageable out there. So there might be you know, a reason for our neighbor to support us in asking the province to suspend this until we get better information about what the wildfires have done. Please.
I really appreciate that the Fort Nelson First Nation is considered in the discussion around this, because they do have a newly elected council, which is on a different plane than the last council. And the data on the caribou, they know the data is wrong, because the data was collected in 2014 or somewhere around 2012, maybe, before the fires happened. So the data looked really good. But it's never been done again. So, you know, what happened after the fire and all that kind of stuff. So they want to know also. So I think they've, like, I can't speak for the nation, but they would be supportive of redoing the research and sitting at the table and finding out, does it still apply? Yeah.
So I think as quickly as possible, if staff can get with the staff of Fort Nelson First Nation and request a meeting. If not of the full councils, then perhaps mayor and chief, and senior staff to see if this is something we can work together on in the very, very short term. And if it is, if we can get that done this week, maybe then we're able to work together to ask for a pause, because I think that's the only thing that works for us, is to ask for a pause. Councilor Going.
So if that doesn't happen, then I still think that we need to have a response, even if our response is please pause while we
Yeah.
work in, meeting with Fort Nelson First Nations to see where both councils are at.
Agreed.
But I think we must respond.
Yeah, by the 12th.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
One, yeah.
Any further discussion on this? Staff, you have any comment?
We'll just reach out to FNFN tomorrow and just see what we can arrange and discuss that. And we do review the agenda in the morning, so we'll discuss what those actions look like and activities and
Okay,
and get back to council.
good. Okay, thank you. That was 7.4. I have a changed agenda, and so I have 7.5 as the addendum, which is the temporary use for permit for the Phoenix Theater, which is the addition. So can we move to that now, please?
Great. I'm going to declare conflict. I have a employment contract with the society. So I'll
Thank
step
you,
out.
Councilor Roper. We'll come and get you when you're done.
All right,
Malcolm?
this one's fairly straightforward. So we had a temporary use permit that was approved in 2021 to allow for the drive-in cinema that is located on Northern Rockies Regional Municipality property, just east of our municipal hall. So that temporary use permit expired in June, and we've received an application from the Phoenix Theater Management Society to extend the temporary use permit for another 3 years, which would be permitted under the Local Government Act.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry,
Oh.
we're just seeking at this point to not to approve the top, but to actually go out for public notification. Then we bring back the approval once we've heard back from the public.
Questions? Councilor Going?
How many times can the temporary use permit be extended? Like, is it just one more time after this?
Mhm.
So, what happens after that? Do we have a plan for that?
No, we don't. We don't have a plan and it can only be done once.
Right.
At that point, you look at rezoning or finding something more permanent in nature.
And so have we, or can we inform the Phoenix Theater Board that this can only legally happen one more time, and perhaps within the next 3 years, we should be working together to figure out a more permanent solution?
Which we would, once council approves the temporary use permit, we would certainly relay that.
Thank you.
Okay, there is a recommendation there.
Yeah, I can make that motion.
Okay,
That the public notification proceeds in accordance with the Local Government Act related to the application submitted by the Phoenix Theater Management Society for a 3-year extension to a temporary use permit to permit the use of a drive-in cinema with a highway commercial C2 zoned parcel owned by the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality.
moved by Councilor Grewing, second by Councilor Enox. Is there any further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Okay, what did I have at 7.6 is the food cycler resolution.
Okay, do you want me just to make the motion?
Sure, then we can discuss it.
Okay, that's staff investigate expansion of the food cycler project, including funding opportunities to lessen the purchase price, allowing greater participation, and exploring the additional components included in the Nelson project.
I would second
Moved
that.
by Counselor Gurley, second by Counselor Roper. Discussion, and you'll provide that to staff because I don't think she could type as fast as you talked.
It's good thing these.
Oh, or you can give her. Yeah, so essentially you're looking for a staff report that would talk about opportunities for cost, not cost recovery, reduce the cost.
Yep.
As well as look into what happened in Nelson where they made their program a community-wide program. Really?
Yes, and where the, can't think of the charcoal is
Oh.
made available locally. I mean, theirs is for free, which would be lovely if we could secure funding to do that.
Right.
But making it available locally, and I really, what I heard from the project was that more people wanted to be involved, but they just didn't have that funding available to purchase the machines. Like, I know we subsidize it and I know it was low cost from some people's perspective, but it isn't low cost from other people's perspective. So yeah, so if we could just look at other funding opportunities to even perhaps lessen the cost, I think we would get more participation. I don't know if we have to then do the 100 units again, or anyways, I think that there just needs to be more investigation before we, yeah.
Counselor Dickey, you had talked earlier in the committee of the whole meeting about potential funding opportunities through.
Rep BC and the
FBC?
funding's out right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can, staff can take that into consideration as well as they move that forward. Good. Is there any other questions or comments for Counselor Gurley? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Counselor Roper second.
Thank you.
I have, from the committee of whole meeting, the backcountry consultation authority for staff to make a submission to that process. So I guess what would a resolution, did we ever, there was no resolution there. I guess a resolution would be, to authorize staff to, make a submission on behalf of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, to the backcountry. I just lost the name of it off the top of my head. Backcountry. Protected areas consultation process. We're gonna have a seconder for that, seconder Counselor Gerwing. Further discussion. For those who weren't here or weren't participating in the meeting, the committee of the whole meeting, there was a discussion with respect to this, so you can refer to that video if you want to review back. All right, seeing no discussion, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. Okay, I think that brings us to the bylaw notice of enforcement. Yes, okay, so I have it as 7.8. Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment for the Water Use Restrictions, bylaw number 227, 2024 for adoption. Council move that for adoption, please. Moved by Counselor Souls, second by Counselor Dickey. I think I saw your hand up. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, Counselor Gurley.
Just want to make the point again that, drawing council's attention to the fact that we're putting these bylaws in and without a higher level of enforcement. So it's all well and good to have this on the books, but if we don't have anybody to actually enforce it, I'm not sure what the point is, and I just say it each time, so I just wanted to say it again.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Okay, I think now. We have no correspondence for discussion. So for information, we have 6 pieces of correspondence for information. Okay, moved by Counselor Souls that we received those 6 pieces of correspondence for information. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Counselor Roper, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. I have no new business. 10.1 standing items, councillor reports. Is there any reports? Councillor next.
I'll just take my council hat off just for a split second, if you don't mind.
Okay.
July 26th to 28th, the Event Society has executed their first Rib Fest. We'd like to thank the Northern Rockies for allowing us to do it at Art Fraser. Without the help of Key Tech Group and Skinner Brothers, this would not have been possible. It was a huge success. We've secured a spot for the tour in 2025, so they will be back. We had tourists from Ontario, France, Texas, Florida, Fort Liard, Simpson, everywhere up the highway. We even had a couple that were broke down in town, got a hold of me. They wanted just to, make the best of it. They worked with us the entire weekend, selling tickets, wiping tables. It didn't matter. They had a ball. And the economic impact that we know happened during this weekend between 2 hotels, all the not-for-profits that were involved, and more of the businesses that were around town. Now, this is only stuff that we're aware of. $34,156.07 was taken in, and over $10,000 was new money, like from the outside coming in. So it was really good. We heard time and time again, this is a good badge for Fort Nelson. Everybody should be proud of themselves, how accommodating, how friendly everybody is. And the nicest that they have town that they have ever been to. So kudos to everybody. Yeah, they were treated really well. Okay, council hats back on. August 14th, I attended the Wild Safe Bear Spray Workshop with Kim. Excellent information. It was a lot of fun. Am I confident? Well, a little bit, but who knows? And then I attended a virtual coffee chat for the Tourism Action Committee with Mannequin. August 22nd, I went to the open house over the Musqueam Chica. Same thing. I expected it to be discussion, like it turned into Toad River. I was kind of disappointed that it was just the boards. A little confusing looking at all that stuff, but I had a couple conversations with them. And then August 25th, I went out to the swearing in ceremony for the new council. So congratulations to Sally, Taylor, Curtis, Kathy, Janelle, and sister, and the new chief, RJ Harold. That was a great fun afternoon. And then yesterday we served 300 hamburgers, 200 hot dogs to a lot of people for the Labor Day barbecue for Dan Davies. So this coming Saturday, the show and shine at the museum. So come on by.
Thank you. Are there any other council reports? I don't have one either. Tourism is, this is that time of year, I guess, when lots of things are going on. So thank you for looking after that portfolio. And I agree that the Rib Fest was a wonderful event. Are they talking about the same weekend? Like, do you have have you got a date yet, or?
We should know October.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll put
That's
the
when they start filling in.
So
the
as
date.
soon as I know, everybody else will know.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. I also attended the swearing in ceremony up there at the Nation. I thought it was very good. It was very interesting to see how they presented their chief, or the potential chief, to the members, and they all stood up in support. I think that was something that was fairly new for them and the last little while, and so I thought that was really good. I did get up to say a few words, asked, that we work together, that we work with them on their vision for the region, and we look forward to, a great relationship and that will benefit all of us in the region together. So. Okay, any other council reports? No. Okay, no business outstanding. There's a notice of motion that Council Gerwin would like to put forward. Please, Council
Yeah.
Gerwin, floor is yours.
Great, thank you. So on August the 12th, I met with Steve Raper from Northern Health in Prince George. He's the VP of Communication and Public Affairs. So he was very interested in hearing about the transportation idea that Dan Campbell of Villers Air is hoping to get off the ground. You've heard me speak of it before, but essentially the idea is that the plane, which can hold 8 residents, can be transported by plane from Fort Nelson to a receiving hospital to receive treatment or diagnostic services not available here. And then they can be returned home the same day. Mr. Raper had contacted me because he heard this idea through the BC Rural Health Network. And so that's how that meeting came about. After the meeting, he committed to connecting with the Northern Health team to see if coordination of appointments at one central hospital on the same day is even possible. I updated the mayor and staff and Dan Campbell, and tonight I just want to update you and to make a notice of motion asking that council to consider allocating staff time to research possible grant options that could be used to introduce this transportation option as a pilot project.
Good. Okay, are there any questions? So I think Councillor Going would like to expedite this as quickly and with respect to the timing of our meetings, you know, it would be well into October because we only have one meeting in September. It would be well into October, maybe even November before this really started to come to fruition. So I talked with the corporate officer and I think we'd have agreed that if we do have a special meeting on the 12th to deal with the issue of the temporary use permit, thank you, for the Phoenix Theater, that we could bring this topic forward. Staff could give a bit of a report of what that might cost and what it might look like. There also might be some other activities that are happening as well that would work in conjunction with this, and staff could roll that all together and bring it to that meeting on the 12th. So hopefully we'll have a quorum for that meeting on the 12th, and we'll be able to expedite this by bringing it to that meeting.
Yeah, I'll come find you all if I'm not here. So, I am really excited. It's not often that have a meeting with Northern Health that I walked out with really excited, like Mr. Napier was just very accommodating, and to finally be making some kind of headway. I would hate to see it get stalled because we were still researching funding opportunities. So, I mean, it by far not a sure thing, but I think instead of that, all pieces can be working together, like, because Dan Campbell is ready to go, the plane is good, like all that piece. So if Northern Health can get that coordination piece going and we can find some funding, we can actually get this pilot off the ground, and that would be a glorious day.
And I guess we're sort of looking to build a business case for it, right? And yeah, it's sort of what we're looking to do. And so I just will look to the corporate officer one more time to make sure that she's good with being able to pull this together something together by the 12th.
It might not be fulsome, but it'll be basically a look at the work that's occurring and what gaps might be there. And then we may not have every funding source identified at that point because
But that's what we're
we need to
authorizing,
discover
right?
partnerships,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
we're authorizing staff time because it may take some staff time,
Yeah.
right? To pull all that together. That's what the notice, that's what the motion is
Yeah,
is asking.
Don't expect that we would have all of those funding opportunities for the 12th. I
Perfect.
just want to get approval for staff time to be able to
work
be
on it.
dedicated to work on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So are we making a motion today? Are we waiving that notice of motion for today to discuss it on the 12th, or we're
Yeah.
deferring it to the 12th?
So this is one of the first times we've really done the notice of motion process, right? And so the whole idea is that a counselor brings some, it's not a surprise to staff. It's not a surprise to us. So we're being put on notice that the counselor would like to move this idea forward. So at the 12th, we'll be able to actually move it forward. Okay.
Great.
I'll read the same words on the 12th.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. Is there any of the public that is interested in any of the questions on here, budget priorities or council business? Tonight's meeting. Seeing none, I'd need a resolution to move in camera, please, for section 91J and 92B of the community charter. Moved by Councillor Gerwing, second by Councillor Dickey. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll recess for a couple of minutes while we go in camera. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. We are finished the in-camera session of tonight's meeting. There is nothing to rise and report with at this time. So adjournment of the regular meeting is in order. Please, moved by Councillor Dickey, second by Councillor Roper. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you very much.